First off, we'd like to offer in surround sound a piece by Swami Ananda entitled Chant.
Standing firm, hold the secret of inner power. With us when cast and strength to endure. Father, we thank you, your joy shines in everything. Open these channels that the world once more may see. Stars like the masses of light through eternity. Lord, in darkness your radiance we see. Father, we thank you, your joy shines in everything. Open these channels that the world once more may see. Our souls so fragile, stay fragrant, low, rest to the ground. May we thus live forbearance, where kindness, love is found. Father, we thank you, your joy shines in everything. Open these channels that the world once more may see. Mountains remote and still, into higher worlds unseen. So may our lives be soaring and serene. Father, we thank you, your joy shines in everything. Open these channels that the world once more may see. Rivers seek passage unhindered by rock or tree. So may our life flow steadfast toward the sea. Father, we thank you, your joy shines in everything. Open these channels that the world once more may see. Father, we thank you, your joy shines in everything. Open these channels that the world once more may see.
Good morning. Our reading this morning is from Rays of the One Light, Weekly Commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita by Swami Kriyananda. Week 39, Many are the pathways to truth. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. On the dedication page of Swami Kriyananda's book, The Path, appears the following account. A group of Paramhansa Yogananda's disciples had gone with him to see a movie about the life of Gyandev, a great saint of medieval India. Afterwards, they gathered and listened to the master explain certain subtler aspects of that inspiring story. A young man in the group mentioned another film he had seen years earlier in India about the life of Mirabai, a famous woman saint. If you'd seen that movie, he exclaimed, you wouldn't even have liked this one. The guru rebuked him. Why make such comparisons? The lives of great saints manifest in various ways the same one God. The Bible contains a similar account in the Gospel of St. Luke, chapter 9. And John said, Master, We saw one casting out devils in thy name, and we forbade him, because he followeth not with us. And Jesus said unto him, Forbid him not, for he that is not against us is for us. The more central a truth, the greater the number of contexts in which it can be applied. Truth is like a pure white light containing within itself the full spectrum of the rainbow. Let no one tell you what your path to God ought to be. Many are the paths. Select your own according to the dictates of your own nature, no matter how out of step that puts you with other people. Sri Krishna, in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, states, trying even unsuccessfully to fulfill one's own spiritual duty, dharma, is better than pursuing successfully the duties of others. Better death itself in the pursuance of one's own duties. The pursuance of another's duties is fraught with spiritual danger. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
Good morning, friends. I'd like to share, if you're not familiar with this book of Yogananda's prayer demands called Whispers from Eternity. If you don't have it, it's an absolute gem, filled with gems. And this one is called Demand for the Opening of Spiritual Temple Doors Everywhere. O Father, when I was blind, I found not a door which led to thee. But now that thou hast opened my eyes, I find doors everywhere, through the hearts of flowers, through the voice of friendship, through sweet memories of all lovely experiences. Every gust of my prayer opens a new door in the vast temple of thy presence. Thank you. It reminded me this whisper of the song that the choir shared with us this morning. The Divine Mother is singing to us like David was sharing in surround sound, right? From the flowers, from the mountains, from the trees. We got here and our little guest room at the community has a picture, beautiful scenery, the greenery up here in the northwest, and a waterfall, and has, in the forest thou art green. Many of you know that chant of Yogananda. So we feel, I must apologize first, because Dharma Devi and I brought all of the rain from sunny Southern California with us. We do this wherever we go. There is this thing I should tell you about. It is the sun. And it does shine. We had a little miscommunication last night after the Kriya. So I said to Dharma Devi, so wait, who's giving service today? I thought maybe you were giving service. And she said, no, I'm being the deferential wife. So, since she has done that, that means I get to tell a story about her. We were on vacation about a year or so ago, and we went to Costa Rica just to get away, beautiful climate, and it was actually a yoga and meditation retreat, but we were just going as nobody, as we all are nobody. And we were and they had yoga in the morning one day, and we went there, and the teacher, I thought it was just going to be a yoga class, but the teacher got inspired to break into yoga philosophy. And so she said, does anyone know what yama means? Now, many of you, I'm sure, know yama, meaning control, right? And so no one said anything. So I think Dharma Devi was trying to help her out. And she said, control? And the teacher said, no, it doesn't mean control. And I was shocked. She got controlling about the definition of control. I never. But isn't that's what this reading is about today, right? My way is right. I think that's the song the choir's going to sing, right? Boxes, or whatever the. Thank you. Yes. My way is right, right? We get boxed in. Master called it in whispers. It becomes our fancy frozen boundaries, right? We create, well, this is my way, this is my religion. What did Swami Vivekananda say? It's a blessing to be born into a religion, but a curse in a sense to die in one. And what did he mean by that? That, yes, it's a blessing. We need the foundation of some practice, but ultimately it's to give us like the spiritual eye. It's to give us a focus to break out into infinity, right? To break jail, so to speak. Our Swami Kriyananda, the founder of our communities, said that what drew him, what attracted him to the autobiography of a yogi wasn't the miracles. You know, Swami said, I had to put those on a shelf. What drew him to Yogananda through the autobiography was that the sweetness of Yogananda's vibration, his authenticity, his perfect joy, and that exuded. I know many of you, perhaps all of you, have read that book. And isn't that what we were drawn to as well? The miracles maybe you believed in or maybe you didn't, but it's what this reading is about today. It was the spirit in that book that caught your heart, I dare say. It was that spirit of the Divine Mother, that spirit of divine joy, Yogananda being a Prem avatar. And Swami said he felt he was also a bliss avatar. And Master himself said that his vibration was one of love, joy, and wisdom. And you feel that in the autobiography. It's not, it's this incredible vista, but it's just so grounded into reality. You remember when he was with Richard Wright going back to India, and they were driving in the forest to see Giri Bala, and he said, Dick, stop the car. That mango tree is begging us to pluck fruit from it. Right? And they ran over, and you could just feel his childlike joy. He wasn't, some low now. He wasn't frying, which, dropping his voice and speaking solemn truths or whatever. Master was a child of God. And it was his childlike expression that touched our hearts. And so it was with Swami. Didn't we feel, I know those of you that met and knew Swami, and those of you who have never met him, but maybe have seen a video or heard his voice, that was one of the first things that struck me about Swami. So I used to travel for my job from New York City to the Midwest, all these plane flights, 3 weeks out of 4. And I would listen to these talks of Swami, these audio recordings, and it was his voice. There was something about his voice. It was so authentic. It was so rich. It was so loving. It was so sweet. I had loving and sweet parents as well. But sometimes it was, a sweet smack upside the head. And we need that too. But just the Divine Mother, that feeling and that consciousness that came through Swami's voice, it broke through the hard crust of my heart. My way is right. My upbringing, my whatever. I remember one time commuting, every morning I would, in New York, I lived in Hoboken, New Jersey, which the sign for Hoboken, when you drive in there, it says, Hoboken, home of Frank Sinatra. And baseball. So it gives you an idea of like the consciousness that you're entering into. But I remember one time I would put on my suit and I would get the bus and then take the cab share, and then on the way back I would take the subway to the PATH train. It was like 5 different forms of public transportation. It's like channels, you know. Sing to you from the bus, sing to you from the subway. But I remember, you know, what touched me so deeply is I was about 6:30 in the morning, I was putting my tie on, and I was listening to I was listening to the oratorio. I lived by myself in just a little 600 square foot apartment. Psalm of David. And that song, and it was the voice of Swami, and it pierced my heart. And tears just started streaming down my face, but it wasn't like I was sobbing. It struck a much deeper chord that I didn't even realize was there. And this is the Spirit of God. This is what moves us. It's not any religion. We're not drawn to a religion. My God, we're in a former mortuary here. So shalt thou feed on death, that feeds on men, and death once dead, there's no more dying then. I was sharing that the other day in the Kriya retreat, right? Master quoted, that was Shakespeare that he quoted in the autobiography. We're going to eat it up, right? We're going to take in that spirit and that joy and go after it more and more and more. And until every day, Master used to say, Divine Mother, it's another day has gone by and you haven't come to me. That kind of yearning, and for the Divine Mother to actually have the experience of her within our hearts, that's what propels us, that's what keeps us going. It isn't any formality. I think that's why we've all been drawn here, and we've all been drawn to this path. And it's not my way is right. Now it's not, it's the path of, geez, we don't want to go there, right? It's not Self-Realization Fellowship Incorporated. It's self-realization. It's one of the last emails I got from Swami. Self-realization, right? What did Master come to give us? That movement of spirit within you. And then, just like this whisper that he said, that came from, you might remember the story. There's actually a story behind that. The man was interviewing him and saying, can inspiration be under the power of will? And Master said, yes, take down this poem. And that was that whisper that I just read. And that was the one that the reviewer said, I can't help but quote this one poem from this new book. It's so moving. From his will, right, he drew the Divine Mother. And, he was all in. And Swami was the same way. And the spirit of Ananda is so beautiful because it's not a form. That's the topic today. It's not a rigid thing. It's not a place. It's a community. I was sharing in the fire ceremony. I just read this morning, you get this day, Yogananda was doing. There's these fun emails you can get. I like to look at those. And today, Master was talking on how faith and fellowship will save civilization. Faith in fellowship. Not faith in the organization, not faith in the building, faith in the Spirit, that fellowship of man. Remember, he was so, one time he said, I was so enthusiastic about world brotherhood communities that I had to calm my mind and come back and chant. He was so enthusiastic about this prospect of communities because it's the only solution. We don't need to go there. We're not going to find it from government, from institutions, from this. We're going to take it like William the Conqueror when he fell. We're going to grab the earth with both our hands. Seize it. This Spirit, this divine friendship, this love of God that I feel in my heart and that I can feel and that I learn, as Master said in another whisper, that teach me to behold myself and others. Because it's not enough for us just to meditate and have the divine milk all to ourselves. Right? Master gave us the true. I grew up Catholic. He's helping me understand what did the Sacred Heart actually mean. You ever thought about that? That cross section, the cross. Master said that vertical line it represents the infinite. It represents that first commandment of loving God. And the horizontal line is the finite. But that cross section, in a sense, in the center, is the Sacred Heart. Where did this lineage, how did this movement start? With the compassion of Christ coming to Babaji. They're doing good works in the West, but they're caught up in the form. They've forgotten the Spirit. Won't you send someone back to reignite that Spirit? And it's that Spirit of God that really moves us. Swami gave us a principle of Ananda that I know many of us know. Yato dharmo tata jaya. Where there is right action, there is victory. This is one of the founding principles of this world brotherhood community. And Swami held to that, right? That Dharma is, people are more important than things. That the Dharma, and how do we know what our individual Dharma is, right? That question comes up. Well, what does God want me to do? What is the right thing to do? And Swami would say, he doesn't really care, so to speak, outwardly, right? It's not so much what we're doing, but how we're doing it, the spirit with which we're doing it. There was that story Davy told where she was washing dishes in the kitchen and this woman said, oh, and she was just doing it so lovingly and so enthusiastically. This woman came and said, oh, I want to wash dishes. And then Davy left, and then the woman just said, oh, this is really boring and mundane. And then Davy was, I think, getting lemon zest from lemons, and the woman came over and said, oh, this is really fun. And then Davy stopped doing that, and then the woman lost her interest in it. Right? It was Davy's magnetism. It doesn't matter what we do. God is weighing the love with which that we do it. And so, how do we know that we're in attunement with Dharma? Well, one way is to have faith. And how do we cultivate faith? We have a touch of that divine experience in our meditation. And we do our best to hold on to it and carry it into activity. There was an incredible experience of faith that one of our friends just had low. Some of you know Gwen Gabord, who created this interfaith community down in Los Angeles, and she spoke with Jyotish and Devi at our Yogananda Fest a couple years ago. And she was going to speak at the village when the village just dedicated their temple, but she had been battling cancer for many years and she couldn't come, so her partner, Lo, came to speak on her behalf. So if you were there, that woman that spoke about Christianity, that was Lo. Gwen's partner. And then shortly after, and she spoke beautifully there, and shortly after that dedication, it was becoming really clear that Gwen was going to be leaving the body pretty soon. And Jyotish and Devi actually came down just for one day to Los Angeles to say goodbye. And there was this beautiful exchange with them, and you could feel the Dharma. Why would they come to Los Angeles for one day? You would think, well, that's not the American mentality can get into, well, that's not efficient. That doesn't make sense. That's a waste of time and money. But it was the right thing to do. And it was such a sweet exchange. Jyotish said, this is bold. It was just Gwen, Lo, and Jyotish and Devi, and Dharma Devi and I, because we know Lo and Gwen. And Jyotish said, this is bold of me to say, but our master, Yogananda Ji, said to Swami, you have pleased me very much. And on behalf of Christ, I want to say to you, Gwen, you have pleased me very much. It was so sweet. It was so touching. And you could feel how moved she was. And it was like that was the purpose of their visit. Just to have that, like their books, right? A touch of light, a touch of love, a touch of joy. That's what they gave her. And then it wasn't but a week or two later, we were in Assisi with Jyotish and Devi, and we got this incredible email from Lo that she woke up at 4 a.m. and she just had this intuition. Gwen's leaving the body now. And so she frantically called a priest to perform the last rites. No priest answered at that time. And then she realized, my God, I'm the one who's supposed to perform the last rites on my beloved, on my partner. And right when she did the final seal of the cross on her forehead, she left the body. Where there is right action, there is victory. And that victory isn't some outward conquest. It is the inner conquest. And that conquest, as Master said, is not a smooth one. A smooth life is not a victorious life. Our karma comes, boom! I could tell you recently about it. Oh, and then what's the knee-jerk reaction? Right? We get afraid. But rather than fear, what Divine Mother's trying to do is get us to open up more, to crack our hearts open more, to give ourselves completely, our bodies, our minds, our souls, until at last we too will say, where there is right action, there is victory. Where I offer myself completely to Thee, I am one with Thee, in spirit and in nature, in this moment and throughout all eternity. God bless you.
And so here is that song by Swami Ananda entitled More Boxes, No Thank You.
The reason we win is we pray ere we go.
But we pray as well and just look at our dead.
But we pray in English.
The Englishman said,
I, my, me, mine. I, my, me, mine. I, my, me, mine.
Coming up week, we have a new Learn to Meditate series starting on Tuesday evening for 3 weeks. If you've taken meditation here before, you can always repeat for free, so you're welcome to come back, or if you know anybody in our Learn to Meditate and the techniques we teach here, talk to me and we can start our series with you on Tuesday. We also have drop-in meditations that we've started to have here in our inspiration room on Tuesdays and Wednesday evenings, 5:30 to 6:30. It's just free. Anybody is welcome to come by and use that space to meditate and dive deeply into the silence there. And we have drop-in yoga as well. And now we have 3 classes a week. We have Wednesday evening with Melissa at 6 to 7:30. We have Thursday evening restorative, which is the kind where you use props and blocks and blankets and you get to relax into each pose very, very deeply, and it's amazing. If you want to come on Thursday, just drop in with us, 6 to 7:30. And then Saturday mornings with Lori, 9 to 10:15 or so, we have drop-in yoga as well. Those are ongoing. And we have October 12th coming up next month, which is a Saturday, our big harvest day at our community, which is a chance to dive in with everybody, seva, service all around the community, indoors, outdoors. It's a lot of fun. It's a way to really come together and laugh and smile and meditate and eat good food and get a lot of things done. So you're put that on your calendar, and if you have any questions, let us know. And we are going on now to our Festival of Light.